world. It is Thursday, March something. March 18th. That's right, March 18th. Today is going to be with Dorothyann Graham Odell. We're going to be talking about the Overcomer Academy. She'll talk about her book. We'll talk about her life. We'll talk about her being in her car, and we will go from there. Hey, Dorothy, how's it going?
It's not just any car, it's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep. That's true. That's true. Just don't ask her to take her top off. This turns into an issue. So we've got to be careful here. This is across public airways, and I'm going to get myself in trouble. So let's get started with introduce yourself a little bit before we get into the academy and the book. I don't want to go into that until people at least know that who you are. And let's go from there.
All right. Well, my name is Dorothy Graham Odell. And I'm a child of God, a wife, a stepmom. And when the pandemic hit, life certainly changed. And I believe totally for the better. A lot of good things have happened out of it. And that's where the book comes in.
Okay. Give us a little bit of your background, because I know that it's Overcomer Academy, and I know your book is... What is it? Overcoming. I don't remember what it is. What's the name of the book?
It's called The Overcomer, Facing Challenges with Faith and Courage.
Okay. So give us a little bit of background so that people understand where you're coming from and what you've been through a little bit, and can get a little bit of a feel what you're in for.
Sure. Well, it all started off when I was in public school. I would be bullied constantly for my weight. I've always been overweight. So that kind of led to me having very low self-esteem, which then opened myself up to, being in abusive relationships, both professionally and personally. I didn't know my worth. I didn't know that, I could get better than that. And growing up, though, I spent a lot of time with myself because I had, my parents were chronically ill, anything from heart disease to diabetes to... You name it, my parents have had it, including kidney failure and cancer now. So it was lonely growing up. So I spent a lot of time with myself. And then about 23 years ago, Christmas Day, my uncle took his life, which, back then we never talked about that. I think we all dealt with that in our own way. And it just seems like it was just like a constant thing. I don't remember a time in my life where things were just easy or things were just normal, whatever normal is, because I don't know what that is really. And it was just a lot to go through. And I had made a joke with a friend of mine one day. I said, could you imagine if I made a story of my life? She goes, well, yeah, that would be awesome. And I said, but who would read it? And she's just like, oh, I would read it. Okay, so one out of the millions of people in the world, right? And it's just like God would not leave me alone with that. And then I said, when I have time, when I retire, then I'll do it. Well, then the pandemic hit and I had a little bit more time. But still, I was making excuses. But then I sat down one day and wrote the book. And so it is published now. It was republished in January of this year, January 30th of this year. And I'll show the cover. I did bring a copy. On Amazon. And so by sharing my story and getting that out there, there's a couple different things that have happened. I am the type of person that usually would sit in the back corner and I observe people. I'm a people watcher. And I just, watch and that. And I've really never wanted to be the center of attention. But I knew that by sharing my story, it would help other women, men too, because men struggle with low self-esteem, men struggle with bullying, men struggle with all that as well. And I just really wanted to, when you're in those situations, you feel extremely alone. And as I was going through the abusive relationships and that, there were times that I felt like life would probably be a lot better if I wasn't there. But I also knew what it would have felt like to lose a family member that way. And whenever I would get to that point where I didn't want to, face the next day, I had this picture taken of my nephews back when they were, 2-3 years old. And I kept that picture. And anytime I felt like giving up, I would either look at the picture if it was there, or bring it back to my mind so that I would focus on something other than the problem that I was facing at that time. So, and I just wanted people to know that they're not alone in that. And there are people out there that face the same situations, and to keep going, because, there's always other options than giving up.
So, okay, the work list, the issue with self worth and your own value and having self esteem, I understand completely, right? Being overweight my whole life, and I was bullied until I outgrew the bullies, and then I wasn't and then I wasn't bullied anymore. Then I spent the rest of my childhood protecting those that were bullied from bullies. So I was like the bullier, or whatever you want to call it. You said a lot in 5 minutes, and I'm trying to unpack it all, right? I came from a different place. I was abused emotionally, physically. I was always around people. I was never really alone. I was always in groups, and big, large groups, and center of it. I always tried to go under the radar. I was the observer also, so I always kind of just sat back and just watched everybody. But I was always in groups and still felt alone within the groups. Never wanted to be alone with myself. So you had that advantage on me, because it's like one of the hardest things that I've learned over the last year is how to do that. And, God said, we need a pandemic for Dorothy to write a book. God said we need a pandemic for Mike to be alone, right? And be isolated so that he's forced to grow and evolve. And it's working. It worked. It's how God basically got me to do it, right? So I was put in that situation, and there's so many blessings that came out of this over the last year. Like, I can't even quantify all of them. It's amazing. And it doesn't mean every day's easy, right? Because I still go through a ton of shit. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with my kids in certain ways, and what they've been through, and how to be there for them most, and still healing myself, right? I'm still going through my healing journey. Unlike you, I always wanted to die. I always wanted to just end myself, and I couldn't, no matter what. Hey, Jen, good to see you. Oh yeah, you didn't see the comment yet. Sorry. You'll see it in a second when Kelly puts it up. I'm just looking at the comments. My ADHD. You know what? Maybe I should close comments, because it drives me nuts.
At least you're not going like this.
No, I will. I'm sure that will come. That will come when you're talking. Because I don't know what to do, and I get fidgety. Like, now because when I'm talking, what I do is, since camera angle stops like right around here, my hands just sit down here and just fidget the whole time. Because I spent all my previous lives and doing videos holding the phone in my hand and doing the videos. So now my hands don't know what to do, so they're just really fidgety. If I learned how to knit, I could probably make full blankets, at a time, like in a single live, because I would need something to just keep busy. So thank you to Stephen for joining us. Jen, we love you. Jen introduced us. Give her props for that. She definitely introduced us. And, the overcomer, right? Like, I've always overcame everything, right? And I never saw a value in that. I never understood how much resilience and strength I had by being that and living that every day. Like, to me, it just was a way of my life, right? Like, I just didn't give myself credit for it. When you look back, like, are you actually giving yourself credit for that today? Like, for everything that you've been through and been able to overcome, or is that still something that you're learning also?
I give myself more credit now than I have before, but to me, and this may sound really weird, but to me, it's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
I said, normal versus not normal. And it was funny because growing up, we grew up with an Anglican background, but it's not like we went to church at all. First, pancake dinner things, we would volunteer and do that as kids. But then I was introduced to the Pentecostal church as I was going through my abusive relationship. And, I thought, man, my family is so freaking freaked up. Like, I couldn't believe it that, because we would think nothing of doing different things that the normal Christian people wouldn't do. And, there was times that I felt shame about that. And then I said to one of my friends, I said, I just wish my family would be normal. And she goes, well, what is normal? Define normal. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. what is normal, because what is normal for some people is not for others, right? So it's funny you said that, because I've never really shared that before, and I've definitely repented from that. And my family is just unique. We're just, I guess, as I go through life, we are kind of normal, and we just seem to have a lot more issues than other people, like problems health wise and things like that. Um, so to give myself credit for what I've been through lately now, yes. But before, like, there's still, if I try to unpack it, and when I first started telling my story, I'm like, wow, that's a lot, and it's still going, because, my dad's facing cancer for the second time right now. So, like, we're in a battle again. And thank you to all of you that have been praying and asking about him. But I mean, it just seems like, but life is never ending. So I don't think we ever arrive until we're gone, right? Until God says we're done. I think we're all constantly go through things. And there are days that I still struggle with it. And there are days that I would rather just curl up in bed and just stay there. But I've been a fighter my entire life. So that's not in me to just lay down and rest. Uh, as part of my self-care, the first time my dad got cancer, I was given a social worker, because I didn't think that I could deal with this. Like, we had just gotten through kidney failure, like, a couple years prior to that. So I was just like, this was another one of those big moments. I swear my dad has 9 lives. He's like a cat. And she said, what's your self-care like? And I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm planning I work full time. My dad just has cancer. My mom, some days she handles it better than others, but, like, I always worry about everybody else. I don't ever worry about myself. And it's funny, because I've identified working hard as, that's how people love me, because I'll do something for them, or, if I work harder, then I'm appreciated. And she was like, well, you need to do stuff for you. And I was always taught by my grandmother, it's selfish to take care of you. You take care of everybody else first. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I don't take care of me, then I'm useless to everybody else. So, that's the time to sit down, reflect, and stuff like that. I have a hard time doing that, because I've been so used to go, 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 go my entire life, and my husband's the opposite. My husband can sit there and have a nap every weekend and be fine with that. And he's like, why don't you come join me? And I'm like, because I don't want to. There's
Right.
things to be done.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Like, I've always been this, I'm busy, always finding busy, and through all my escapisms, workaholic has always been the easiest one to fall into, because that one you can get praise from, right? Like, that one you can get appreciated for, right? It's not really hurting anybody except for me, because I'm avoiding myself, right? So self-care is completely new to me. Knowing my value, understanding my value, having self-worth is just something that I never understood, right? Today I can look and say, I actually love myself, and I'm getting closer to saying I'm in love with myself, but I don't know if I'm there yet. But I'm getting closer, right? And that means a lot. That's a huge step for me. And, it's really funny. I've been out here for so long, away from everything I know, everyone I know, for so long. I was really just shut down, and really, in a lot of ways, before I really started understanding my own value, I was putting value in the fact that nobody was willing to come visit me, right? And that was a big thing for me for a while, right? I love you, but I'm not coming to see you, right? And it was like, it was one of those catch-22s, right? And yes, Kelly, producer, she came, visited me, she saw me, and it's very difficult, right? Yes, normal is a whole different conversation. That I think we'd have a group conversation about, and put 50 of us on the screen. And you won't find normal between the 50 of us either, I promise. But, like, what I realized today, right, and really this morning is, my value, I do appreciate my own value. I do understand my own value. I do understand my worth. But it's also nice to know that somebody's willing to go out of their way to take a leap and show you how much they mean to you, right? And to get on a plane and come out here and see me, and somebody committed to it today. So it was really nice. It was very emotional for me. because I've been here alone for so long and I miss human interaction, right? Like I really do. And I think everybody needs it. So I don't think it's a selfish reason. I don't think it's I want to hide behind reason. It's because I'm this new person and I want to spend time with people that I truly care about. The normal part, I don't even know what normal means. I have no understanding of what normal is. And like Jen said, it's all about, it's about perspective, right? She said it a couple of comments ago. And I don't even have a perspective that I'm normal. I don't even think I'm normal. So, well, let me change it. I know I'm not normal, and I'm okay with that too, right? Like I appreciate my differences today, and I understand my value and I understand my worth because of those differences. So, let's talk about let's talk about when you started writing the book. Like, let's talk about your emotional experience, because it's like one thing to say, I'm going to write a book about my story. It's another thing to heal yourself from your pain of your life. It's another thing to say, I'm going to write a story about my life and talk about my biggest issues and biggest things. And what was that like for you? Like having to go through that, sludge through them.
It was like another healing process, really. After I had left those abusive relationships, I had gotten some healing. I'd got some different kinds of counseling. But as I was writing the book, it was I have journaled I would say the last 10 years. And I kept those journals, and I thought someday they will be of use. And perhaps before I die, they may be burned. I don't know. But as of right now, they're still in existence. But I went back to those journals and to make sure I was, saying the right thing about the situations that I was in, because I didn't want to, tell the world this story and it just be skewed after years later, right? So as I was writing the story and going through those journals and thinking like, wow, it was very therapeutic for me as well, because I was kind of releasing it again and thinking, oh wow, yeah, this happened this time and this happened that time. And I believe healing is like an onion. Each time we peel a layer away, sometimes more can be exposed though, so you have to get prepared for that. And there were times as I was going through that process, it was just like I would be sitting at my desk bawling, and my husband's like, well, what's your problem? And I'm like, I'm just, reliving some things here that I didn't realize that I was attached to still. And so it was very therapeutic to go through that. And it was like releasing it all again. And, and some part of the book, like I was really real and raw, especially about being a stepmom. This is not the first time I've been a stepmom. And my experiences before were, I love kids and I love every single child that's been in my life, but it can cause a problem in relationships. And my first stepson did cause a lot of problems in my relationship with his dad and I, and it brought that up. So I had to deal again with that this last summer, because I noticed that my current stepson did something almost exactly similar to the one that I had before. And it just it was like a huge trigger. So I had to go through that again and release it all again and stuff like that. So it was very therapeutic to do that. To answer your question, yeah.
The long shortcut answer. That was a long roundabout. Yes, it was therapeutic and healing, but we went through the. Like
I'm a great storyteller.
Right. Obviously, I mean, buy the book for that reason alone. Like I look at it, right, and the deeper I go, the more pain it is, but also the better equipped I am to handle it, because I've processed, and as I go through more and more trauma, or release more trauma, I should say, right? I'm not going through it continuously still, but as I'm releasing it, as hard as it gets, I'm still able to handle it in a much better way than I ever would have before.
Yes.
Right? And I'm also that asshole that, yes, I curse all the time, so we just roll with it. This is my channel. It's not for family, so get off. Now, what I realize is I'm one of those people that wants to look at the hardest, darkest, deepest thing, and I want to go head first through it because I don't want to hide anymore. I spent so many years hiding from my traumas that now that I'm in front of it, I'm ready to take it all on, whatever it is, and give me the most pain first, right? Because I want to get rid of that pain. I want to process it. I want to release it. I want to be free of it. And I want to do whatever it takes to get over it.
Yeah.
And there's something freeing about being in that space, right? It's a very magical space in my mind. So how long did it take you to write the book? Because you said pre-COVID you always wanted to, and now we're in, what are we in, 13 months, 12 months of COVID? So obviously you knocked this thing out in no time. I mean, really quick.
By the end of July, I had the first draft completed and over to my editor. So from March to July, so 4 months. 4 months it was written. And I'm a bookkeeper, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Anyways, what can I say? I'm sometimes my brain just like it short circuits, and I use the tools that I have. So fingers and digits are them.
It's all good.
So yeah, 4 months, and to tell you the truth, since I had a little, like, I would write a little bit before that and just like leave it in a computer, and then I would take bits and pieces that I had typed up, because sometimes I'll just type my thoughts, and I used a lot of that. So some of it was copy paste, but the majority of it was written in the 4 months, and it's I was like, it's funny because if I force myself to sit down and write something, I can write out like amazing stuff in no time at all. But because if I procrastinate and think, oh, the 101 other things that I have to do, then it doesn't get done. So
I get it. I understand. And for me, it's easier to do for somebody else than it's to do for me, right? Like, bingo. I'm great. Huh?
I said bingo.
I mean,
do more for others than I've ever done for myself, and I find this is the hardest thing, like putting myself out there and marketing myself, because really the book is about me, so I'm marketing me, right? And that is the hardest thing ever. And I actually got to a point where I didn't know what to do anymore, because I'm used to bookkeeping. Marketing was never been my thing, but you learn new things as you go along.
So what did you learn through the publishing experience? Because I think there's other people that can probably learn from this. I know that you had a couple issues, and I think that they could benefit people. So
yeah, definitely go with your gut. First of all, definitely get a professional editor, and definitely do your homework on the people that you're thinking of helping you with your project as well. It's just, I can say that it was quite the experience, and I thought, maybe I just completely self-publish myself, just get it edited. But then I thought, okay, it wasn't going along, the exposure wasn't out there, and because I didn't really know what I was doing, that's why I ended up hiring a professional to do it.
And I think in situations like that, I mean, when it comes down to books, right, like you can self-publish and it's great. And if you already have an existing network, right, so like you've gone out of your way to build a very large network, it's easier, right, because you already have those connections. Yes. But this is like one of those things where you're taking this new thing on and you don't know what you don't know, and you're walking into this and saying, I have all this time, I want to get my story out there. What do I do first? And then you're kind of like building my network, doing the book, trying to handle it all at once. And then you're going through editors, copywriters, publishers, and trying to juggle it all around. And it's very confusing.
Oh, it is. And then you have people out there that like gaslamp as these people that are professionals. So you got to, steer away from there. And what was very helpful is I found a local author in my community, and I asked what she did. So I did get a lot of valuable information from her, to help me through that process. but again, I went to somebody who I knew that has done it, and she's had success, right? So find the success trail and go with those people.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, it's always good when you know them personally, right? It's like if you're just reaching out to people, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who's real, who's what they're saying, if they know what they're doing, and if it's something you don't know about, right? If it's something you don't know about, then how do you even know if the information they're telling you is valid? Like, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like you're trusting their presence, and it's difficult, right? Because not everybody's tapped into intuition. Not everybody, presents themselves the way they should, or if something's missing and you feel that something's missing. Like me, I'm extremely intuitive, so if I feel like something's missing, I'm going to know right away. And if they're not forefront with who they are, what they do, everything else, then I question everything else about them.
Yeah.
So, and then I start questioning myself, right? Am I wrong, right? Like, I mean, they seem to be the greatest person in the world. Everybody loves them. Am I wrong, right? Because then it goes back to me. Is this just me being judgy? Is this me being insecure? Is this me being this? And then next thing you know, I create this whole downward spiral of how I can beat the crap out of myself, which actively working not to do anymore. But I'm so analytical that sometimes it just overtakes me, right? And there's positives and minuses to being that way. From the book, okay, so it was published January 30th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So where did you come up with the Overcomer Academy? Let's talk about that a little bit. I really want to go into that a little bit.
Okay, so it's funny because I have this coaching program to help women overcome their obstacles and, puts different things in place. Like, I believe the foundation first of all is, knowing what triggers you and then dealing with those triggers. Setting your morning up is huge. For myself, I start with my meditation and my gratitude. Gratitude's huge. Journaling, and a lot of people don't know anything about that. And whether you're a believer or not of God, then the people pick their source of who they tap into, right?
Right.
So for me, it's God. So I tapped into Him first thing in the morning, and I also believe in my intuition too, leading me as well. And I say it's Him, but it's a combination of both of us probably on most days, because there's some things that He says don't do and I do anyways, and then I deal with the consequences later. So anyway, so getting to set your morning up, identifying with the triggers, and just really going after that and putting some kind of self-care program into place, because I'm a huge advocate for that now that I know about it, and now that I actually do it, because instead of being burnt out, stressed out, and bleeding all over other people that haven't hurt you, it's a good way metaphorically, that is. uh you know
Maybe. Anyway.
hurt people, that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. And it's true, because I know that in myself. I can tell when I'm getting edgy and when I'm getting like bitchy and things like that. I know that there's certain things that I need to deal with, and so I deal with them. And a lot of people have never heard of that process before, or have never gone through that. And that's, to me, that's laying a foundation. So 12 years ago, I took this course called was it the On Purpose course? I think it was the On Purpose course. Anyway, so in this course, God gave me this vision. Back then, I was living in a little town called Chatham, Ontario, and there was this old abandoned school there. So He gave me this whole vision of each classroom having different counseling sessions or different things. So since I had been in abusive relationships, I definitely wanted to help people, men and women, that have been abused. So that would be one classroom. Another classroom, maybe entrepreneurship, because we were never taught that in school, right? Debt freedom. Debt freedom, I've been there before. Definitely had to make some wild decisions. Ended up paying off my debt a year and a half sooner than what was actually expected. So, teaching people on that. Homelessness and my community are huge for me, and my heart right now is helping homelessness. So in one of the classrooms, I wanted to put some kind of program in there to help them, for the ones that wanted help, because with this pandemic, a lot have fallen on hard times. they've lost their job, they've lost their livelihoods. So to try and either help them find a job, have clothes there for them to get to their interviews so that at least they look presentable. Maybe do some kind of cooking class in one of the other classrooms. I really haven't figured it all out. Perhaps having a regular social worker there, somebody that is licensed to help people in different areas. I've taken a Theophostic prayer ministry course, which it helps get to the root of the problem, of your triggers and stuff like that. Having something like that, which is faith-based. Some people don't like that, so that's why I said have a normal traditional social worker or therapist in there. So I have all this laid out of what I want to do. I'm not sure exactly how to put it all together, except the foundations first. So once I get the foundation laid, and I really don't know if this is supposed to be globally or if this is supposed to be locally. I believe starting local first. And Carl Watkins had a great idea to have the Overcomer Academy franchise and have it all across North America. So I'm still not sure how this is all going to work out, but God will figure it out in time.
Well, I mean, I would think that, like, the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club and stuff like that started out small too, right? Yeah. So, I mean, at some point, it's probably not a profitable thing or something that's very profit driven. But the fact that humanity is waking up a little bit more towards compassion, self-compassion, self-love, and loving others, I could see where people would be very engaged and wanting to be a part of something like that, right? And if you're going to go across North America, then just go around the world, right? Like, I mean, the world is so small now that, it's all connected. And if you're going to go to one place outside of home, then you might as well go everywhere, right? Like, why hold back? Through connectivity, you're able to do all these things. Michelle Madden said hi, by the way.
Hi, Michelle.
So, you should talk to Michelle, actually, if you never have. Michelle, connect with Dorothy. Because she's working on something that could benefit with what you're talking about also. And a lot of people are. I mean, Jen is. I don't know Stephen Lewis. Carl is, right? We know Carl is.
Yep.
So I think that there's a lot of people out there that are looking for a direction and a path and a way to give back, right? How do I support myself? How do I help the most people possible? And how do I move forward in the most straightforward, soul-purposed way? And for me, that's everything, right? It's about intent. It's about soul purpose. It's about figuring out to your soul who you are, living into that, surrounding yourself with your core values and living into them, right? And when you come from a background like you have, right? Like you have, it's awesome to see how you just want to give back, right? You just want to help people. And that's part of the thing that when people say hurt people, I don't believe that. I think hurt people that are stuck hurt people. People that are trying to work through it are the biggest assets to other hurting people because they can guide a way for them that no one else can, right? And again, instead of saying like-minded, I say like-souled, right? Because I believe fully in soul's purpose. I look past the surface. I see straight to the soul and the core of everyone. That's one of my gifts. And when I deal with people, I go straight to the soul. I don't spend a lot of time on the surface stuff because for me, it's just not worth my time. Like you can tell me that you're worth $20 billion. I'll look at you and say, yeah, but your soul's a little tarnished. You might want to fix this. And they'll look at me and say, well, I'm a billionaire. I don't care. And I'll be like, well, then you're doing it the wrong way. And that's it. And I'll walk away because it just doesn't matter. That doesn't impress me. Right. Mother Teresa, Gandhi, those things impress me, right? Creating movements, Martin Luther King. And there's so many that aren't being named, right? I mean, there's millions throughout history that were never named. And that's part of it, right? It's not about the glory. It's about living to your purpose to the best of your ability to be able to influence and not influence, but to be able to create as many self-inspired people as possible.
Yes.
I don't want people inspired by me. I want people to be self-inspired because I showed them something within themselves that they're able to be inspired on their own. And that's important to me.
Yeah. That is true.
So how are you looking to build the Overcomer Academy? Time to put you on the spot live.
Like I said, it's funny because each time I tell the story, it's like God reveals to me more and more after. Like I just got off the phone with Andrea Sanchez on Monday or Tuesday night. I can't remember what it was. And when she asked me the same question, it's like more and more was revealed. And now when I'm talking to you, more and more is revealed. So I'm thinking that if anybody was interested in getting involved in this, to please contact me and we could put our heads together because I know nothing about like websites and putting that stuff together and maybe having starting off with an online academy that each person contributes what they know to say a classroom or a knowledge base. I think starting with that, especially right now, since it's not like we can hold a party of 50 and have this in a room somewhere right now. I think whether you're
you can just not in person, right? So
well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what like online we can do that, but we can't do that in person right now. So perhaps starting this online first.
There's one person. There's one person for you. Oh, she threw her phone.
And the world opens back up. Yeah. You know what? Crap. I gotta run inside for 1 second. My phone is dying and it was fully charged. 1 second.
All right. Michelle Madden's in too to help. Jen wants to help. Michelle Madden wants to help.
If I lose connection, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry.
It's okay. We'll roll with it. This is what we do here. We believe in challenges. We're over.
Nothing but a challenge, as you can tell.
That's okay. We're overcomers. This is what we do.
That's right. We'll come one way or another. 1 second.
That's all we can do. This is a first for me, so we're good. A change of location mid-live. This is awesome. I've changed a diaper on a live. That was entertaining. Never thought that would happen.
Well, when I was on Carl's show, I had no heat, so I had the repairman there.
That's
talking
awesome.
To me as I'm talking to Carl. So every live I've had something on.
It's okay. It's part of overcoming, and that's all it is, right? Like at some point the obstacles don't scare you anymore because you're so used to overcoming everything.
My coworkers might think I'm crazy. Oh well.
That's okay.
I am.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm at the point now where I thoroughly enjoy when people think I'm crazy. It's perfect.
It's funny because I've been on so many taped or recorded podcasts as well that hold on. And the one lady that I was on, she goes, "Well, I don't do lives, I want to."
All right, guys, let's give her some credit because she said that she would probably lose connection. So here it goes. So, overcoming is interesting because I don't think any of us give ourselves. Here we go. Maybe. It's always an interesting day when I do the Misfits at the end of the day. I blame the Misfits for this. It's like the Misfits Curse.
Hold on.
It's okay. We roll with this, right? Because this is live and this is just live life. So wait. Is she coming back? There we go. Well, sort of. This is
Can you
awesome.
hear me?
Yes, but you're sideways, but yes. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we're good. I think. There we go.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. Life happens. This is live life. This is what we do. You just kind of roll with things after a while. You do enough lives, especially with me, with my kids, like nothing bothers me anymore. Like Sid could be jumping on my head, kicking me in the face. Like I just keep going. I'm just. By the way, before you had to go for a walk, Michelle Madden said that she's in also to help you. You should also speak to Nancy Burrows. You should speak to Michelle Harwood Lane. Yeah, I mean, your purpose and your intention behind your purpose is beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm writing that down. Connected for sure. I will talk with her more on that when she's. I think she's still trying to get over last Saturday's show.
It happens.
Oh no! Did I lose you?
No, you're kind of there. You're there.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Look,
Okay.
this is all part of life. Like we just roll with this. Like there's no way to prepare for a live. Like you could be in a broadcast studio, you could be in a perfect scenario, and something will go wrong. It is fine. You just go with it. You don't let it impact you, and you just bring your message and your intention. That's what we're here for, is the intention, right? And how do we apply the attention to everyday life? So let's talk a little bit about your overcoming, right? Like you wrote the book, you've been through a lot in your life. What are the steps that you take on a daily basis? You said your routine. Can you go a little bit more into that, about the meditation and the journaling and gratitudes and stuff like that, just so that people get an understanding of it better?
Okay, so I'm up at 4:00 every morning. And I have a glass of water because being hydrated is important. So I have that with me. And then I go into a little bit of meditation for about, focus on trying to get my brain to stop, even though I just woke up. And I'm just like, okay, God, what do you have for me? And I just try. I have a timer set actually for 15 minutes, and then I have my journal beside my chair where I do my gratitude. I do 5 things I'm grateful for. So I am statements. My first one is I'm an exceptional wife, stepmom, daughter, sister.
Okay. I'm none of those things. Just so we're clear, I am none of those. Can't even be in if I wanted.
Neither am I, but it's something that I'm striving for.
Well, there you go. I'm not going to try.
So
I'm not going
to.
I don't want to be somebody's wife, so I'll be fine. I'll be okay not being the best wife ever.
Smart ass. Anyway,
yes, I am.
And the things I have are things that I want in my life to focus to bring in, or because I do want to be exceptional, in relationships. So I start that with number 1. Number 2 is always I'm full of faith. I would like to say that doesn't waver sometimes. When you're going through what I've been through, especially the last 6 months with my dad, it's like, to be honest, actually, I think you and I had a conversation the second time, and I didn't see his healing at first. And you showed me where it was, and I was just like, okay. And I think in the middle of our conversation, and like, I see it now, and that was huge for me. That was the first time since I had become a Christian that I had let my fears about my parents' health get to me, though. Thank you for that, because without that, like, I was thinking the first time we were told 3 to 6 months if he doesn't do anything, or a year and a half, and accepted that. You showed me that. I was like, wow. So full of phase number 2. And then the list continues. So you pick your own. And journal for, the next 5-10 minutes. Just any thoughts that I had during my meditation time, I write them down. And when I work, I do my workout. I do at least 30 minutes in the morning. But I also like to go back to bed and snuggle with my husband, get off work, just because I feel that that's important, to start off our morning together as well. So I do that, and then I get ready for work. Then I might start off my day, and in between there, like on my breaks and stuff, I'll try and get to the people that have messaged me and things like that, and just really try and connect people. So that's usually my day, set up different lives like I'm doing now, and just trying to get the word out.
So what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be when it's all over? I'm just curious.
I want people to know that, number one, I know that never to give up, because that is huge. With a lot of the mental health things going around right now, it never used to, everything hidden. More and more things are coming out, but I really want to inspire people to just really, trust in themselves, believe in themselves as possible. Is really what I want to inspire to be, and don't give up, because sometimes just when you're ready to give up, that is when. So I deem myself the overcomer. I've deemed myself the overcomer, and I really put into perspective of, overcoming to the littlest things to the biggest things.
For me, in a lot of ways, I've always had trouble with the smaller things rather than the bigger things, right? The bigger things, I always felt like they forced me into a position that I had to deal with it. But the little things, I played hopscotch with, how I can hop over them, ignore them, and hope that they never came back to bother me again. I was really good at that until they became a mountain of little things, which apparently took me 41 years. But then it was a mountain. Hey, Tim, how you doing, bud? It's so interesting, right? Like, there's so much wrapped into all of this. When you talk about mental health, can you talk a little bit more about your personal experience with it, what you're willing to share? Obviously, your uncle, taking his life, that's an issue, but what else is, part of that?
Okay, so for me, it started off with my uncle, and then when I was in high school, the captain decided his life. So to see it on that level was massive. Like, I didn't even know the guy, and I was devastated. They had counselors at the school for people that needed that. And then and his niece had took her life too, and that was tragic and devastating as well. So for me, I've always been around it. I haven't been anywhere near where it hasn't been front and present. And the mental illness runs rampant in my family. My grandmother had some issues. My other grandmother struggles with anxiety and depression. So, which I never knew about till the last 3 years. And it's like, well, it's no wonder why, there's a lot of people that struggle. For me, and that's why I decided to take the ASSIST program, which is kind of like a suicide prevention. It's like, if you're in that situation where you either are on call with somebody or you're there live with them, the steps to at least get them to safety so that they don't hurt themselves. And, having a backup plan in place, like, if you feel this way, then what's your backup plan? But if you go past that point and you're really, really going to try and hurt yourself, I believe everybody should have that plan to somebody, and you tell that person like, hey, if I call, there's a reason for it, right? And I know we're so busy in our lives right now that sometimes we just, can't always get to that. But that's why you should definitely have more than just one backup plan. And but dealing with that, like with my uncle and things like that, it was hard. It was hard. I mean, that was 23 years ago, and the first 10 after that happened, I didn't realize it. When anybody I met brand new came to me, that was the first thing out of my mouth. And I'm like, how twisted is that? And I didn't even realize that. And, do you realize that's the first thing you told me? And I didn't realize how much it had affected me till then. So that's when I decided to.
You would literally say, hey, I'm Dorothy. My uncle killed himself. Nice to meet you.
Well, not exactly like that, no. So, like, when you're getting to know people, it would be one of the first things that come up in conversation.
I mean, I'm blunt,
where,
right, so I'm curious because, like,
it's not something that most people tell, like going around telling people, but in, the first conversation or two, that was the first thing I would say. And I was just like, I would bring it into conversation, and I don't even remember how I did it.
So I wonder
if it was twisted now that I think of it.
I don't know if it was twisted, but I wonder if that was part of your cry for help, right? To find that one person that wanted to talk about it with you, that could support you through that after years and years and years of never finding somebody that wanted to go through that with you, right? Like, I mean, like I'm reliving a lot of my past trauma right now, and I'm really going through it. And I have like certain people in my life that I reach out to that go through it with me. And I'm very specific about who it is, right? Like I won't just do it with anybody because one, I don't like burdening people, so that, that's part of it. Two, I don't trust that many people on that level, so that's another part of it. And then it comes back to, who can handle it, right? Like who can handle the crap that I've been through? Yeah. Like I've been through some crap, right? So I mean, I can get through it, right? Because I did, but like, who do I want to drag through that crap with me? So it's really interesting because the more I think about it, when I was a kid and I had a death wish, right? Like I wanted to die. I mean, I OD'd numerous times. I drowned twice. Like I had a death wish as a child. And there were times I would introduce myself to people. Hi, I'm depressed. How are you? Because that's just me, right? I'm just really blunt and straightforward. I don't hide anything. So it's not the most appropriate way to introduce yourself. But I think part of that was my cry for help also, right? Because I went to a therapist. He killed himself. I went to psychiatrists. I went to a neurologist because my parents thought I was crazy. So it was, I feel like sometimes we express what's our biggest pain point also to see who's still able to be there by our side through it, right? Like this is the worst I have to offer, so can you still sit next to me, right? And we do it in our own subtle ways. I mean, I think I'm a little bit more blunt than most people. I mean, we've talked that I'm Mr. Trigger, so I feel like, that's an appropriate name for me, Mr. Trigger. It's not intentional, but I understand it and I get it, right? This is Shane. Shane Gaither is a local gentleman to where I am now who's been one of the nicest living human beings I've ever met on the planet. And actually, while being here, has helped me see the value of people here outside of just what my children went through. So Shane, thanks for watching, and I appreciate you and everything that your family has done for me because it's been amazing. I lost a lot of faith in local people around here because of what my kids went through, and that helped me kind of restore it in a lot of ways, and it allowed me to be open to see people for who they really were rather than the jaded opinion and experience that I had against them. So it was a very big self-reflecting moment for me. And I just rambled, I think, for the last 5 minutes. So with that being said, we're getting close to the end. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you would like to go over, as we're literally right at the end of this, and I know you got to get back to work and go from there?
I just really want to thank you for having me on, Mike. I mean, you know, we've over the last month or two, and I just really want to thank you for bringing out a lot of different things in myself as well that I didn't realize that was there.
Again, I'm the walking tribute.
The people, oh, but anyways, I just want to leave people with, you know, going, you know, when you're walking through hell, just keep going, because you don't want to stop through that. And, you know, I'm nobody special. So if I can overcome what's been in front of me, you know, the most biggest thing is I just don't want people to feel alone. So please feel free to reach out. I'm on Facebook as Dorothyann Graham Odell, and on LinkedIn. And, you know, I'm always available. Well, I check my messages. I'm not available 24/7, but I will definitely get to you. Feel free to reach out, because I mean, that's what it's all about, is helping other people. You know, and if you wanted to purchase the book, it is on Amazon, and hear some of the wild, crazy ass stories that I've been through. But I mean, I think every test that we're put through brings us to our testimony and to help other people. And by sharing story, is it releasing and healing for you? It's healing for other people. The amount of people that have come to me and said, you know, thank you for telling your story, helped me out in numerous ways, has been really eye-opening for me, and including my own family. I won't go into a lot of detail, but one of my family members had purchased the book, and she was talking to another family member and said, you know, I didn't realize what Dorothyann had been through, but I can identify with it for a lot, and through her own traumas growing up. And she was able to open up to my dad about some of those traumas, and it was freeing. After like 40, 50 years, she was able to open up and share. But I won't go through that because it's her story, not mine. And as soon as I heard that she was free to do that, like, and that's what it's all about, you know, just really helping others, you know, and getting the word out there that your story, you're helping other people.
It's very important to share your story, because by sharing your story, you can, like you said, inspire others, right? You know, when you inspire others, it heals you and them. It gives them a pathway to heal themselves. Yeah. And it's so important to empower others to do that, right? So I think that's a big part of this. With that being said, we are done for the day. So we will have to come back to overcome new obstacles next time. And
perfect.
Everybody, thank you very much for watching, and
thank you.
We will go from there. And I appreciate everybody. And Dorothy, thank you so much. You honored me with your presence, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, and thank you to everybody watching and the replay.
Yes, and the replay. Have a great day, everybody. I don't know where Kelly is. See, this is when it goes into the awkward, dragging out the live.